All right, squad, let's get into it. Prince Harry's Toronto trip hasn't even officially started, and already Kensington Palace is in panic mode. You can almost hear the sound of papers flying across desks in William's press office. They're scrambling, desperate to flood the media with noise because Harry, simply by existing, simply by being free and successful, keeps outshining the heir to the throne. It's the same tired playbook: distract, deflect, and demonize Harry and Meghan. This time, they've turned to their American mouthpiece, Page 6, to spread yet another laughable hit piece. And let me tell you, this one is pure desperation. So here's what happened. William's out in Brazil on a royal tour, but instead of letting his so-called work speak for itself, the palace decided to stir up another anti-Harry media storm. Suddenly, Page 6, which is part of Rupert Murdoch's media empire, the same empire that spent years attacking Meghan and Harry, drops not one, but 3 little exclusives. And what's the big scoop? Apparently palace insiders think Prince Harry must be quite scared of losing his royal titles. That's the narrative they want to sell to the world. Scared. Harry. Please. That's the funniest thing I've heard all week. They're trying to convince people that Harry is supposedly trembling at the thought of William one day using his royal power to strip him of his duke title. First of all, Harry doesn't even use those titles in his day-to-day life. He gave up royal privileges years ago. He's built a new identity, one based on service, compassion and integrity, not hierarchy or control. So the idea that he's lying awake at night, worried about what William might do, is beyond ridiculous. It's projection. It's William who's scared of how irrelevant he's becoming in comparison. But let's talk about this removal of titles bill that Page 6 is spinning like it's the sword of Damocles hanging over Harry's head. The bill, reintroduced by MP Rachel Muskell, was originally designed to deal with the embarrassment of Prince Andrew, who lost his titles after his connections to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell became impossible to defend. That's a man accused of heinous crimes. That's a man who brought shame on the institution. And yet, somehow, the palace thinks it's appropriate to mention Harry, a man who fought for his country, built the Invictus Games, and continues to support veterans and mental health causes, in the same breath. It's insulting, and it's telling, because it shows how far they'll go to punish Harry for one simple thing: telling the truth. They can't handle that Spare pulled back the curtain. They can't handle that Harry revealed how dysfunctional and cruel the system really is. So now they're resorting to symbolic threats. We might take your titles, as if Harry's self-worth comes from something the monarchy granted him. No. Harry's power comes from walking away from that nonsense. That's what William can't stand. And the way the tabloids try to disguise William's vindictiveness is almost comical. Page 6 quotes a so-called palace source, saying, "William isn't vindictive, but he feels very let down." I mean, come on. That's straight out of the passive-aggressive royal PR handbook. He's not vindictive, but he's actively leaking, plotting, and trashing his brother in the press. Spare me. That's vindictive with a capital Phi. William feels let down because his brother refused to be his backup dancer anymore. He feels let down because Harry wouldn't be controlled by the same system that's been protecting the heir and sacrificing the spare for generations. What William really feels is envy. Deep, consuming, all-consuming envy. Because for the first time people are seeing through the royal illusion, and the person standing tall in truth isn't him, it's Harry. Now, let's talk about the second half of page 6's melodrama, because this is where the comedy really kicks in. After pretending that Harry's supposedly quaking over titles, they pivot to claim that Hollywood has no appetite left for Harry and Meghan. Oh, really? Because the last time I checked, their Netflix documentary was one of the most watched in the platform's history. Their podcast archetypes topped charts and won awards. Meghan's name alone sends British tabloids into meltdown mode daily. These people are so obsessed with trying to convince us that Meghan and Harry are irrelevant, while writing about them every single day. The irony is delicious. They even dragged out some nonsense about Harry being hopeless in professional settings, supposedly showing up late to a Netflix meeting and asking for a cup of hot chocolate. That's the level of smear we're dealing with now. A mame man and oud askin. And gan for hot chocolate. That's the scandal, the same press that stayed silent while senior royals engaged in affairs, covered up misconduct and used taxpayer money for personal indulgence. Now, suddenly, they're outraged because Harry likes hot chocolate. Give me a break. This isn't journalism, it's palace fan fiction. And let's not forget where these Hollywood sources come from. They're always anonymous. They're always vague. And they're always conveniently timed to appear whenever Harry and Meghan are doing something positive. Funny how that works. The minute Harry announces his Toronto trip, a trip highlighting causes close to his heart, focusing on Invictus connections and veterans, the smear machine kicks in. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. William's comms team can't stand seeing Harry thrive. They'd rather spend energy briefing tabloids than focusing on their own stale image. It's the same old pattern. William's in a new country. The cameras are on him, and he still can't escape his insecurity. The palace PR strategy is simple. When Harry shines, dim the lights around him. But what they don't realize is, Harry doesn't need palace spotlights anymore. He carries his own. He's built it through genuine connection, hard work, and authenticity. Every attack only makes him stronger. Every smear only reinforces what he said in Spare, that the system is broken and controlled by jealousy and fear. And speaking of fear, let's flip this narrative. The tabloids want you to think Harry's scared. But the truth, the only people who should be scared are the ones losing control of their story. Because Harry's freedom has exposed how dependent the monarchy is on image, on illusion, on press manipulation. Harry doesn't need their approval, but they desperately need his existence to stay relevant. Without him, there's no drama, no clicks, no intrigue, so they keep using his name, hoping to drag him back into their circus. But Harry's not playing anymore. You can feel how shaken William's side is by the tone of these leaks. They sound frantic. They sound jealous. They sound like a man who can't believe his younger brother has become more globally respected without the trappings of royalty. Harry's journey is about evolution, moving from the constraints of privilege to the purpose of service. William's journey, on the other hand, seems to be about maintaining an image, even if it means undermining his own family. That's why these stories exist, not to inform, but to distract from the fact that the heir is failing to inspire. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture, the transatlantic smear machine. The Murdoch empire controls outlets in the UK and the US. They've realised that smearing the Sussexes sells. They feed British gossip to American audiences, hoping to turn American readers against Meghan and Harry. But here's the thing. It's not working. Americans don't buy it. They can see the difference between two independent people living their truth, and a crumbling monarchy trapped in bitterness. Every exclusive from a Hollywood insider reads like palace propaganda. Every jab about Meghan being controlling or dismissive reeks of sexism and racism, the same coded language the British press has used for years. And here's the part that really burns them. Harry and Meghan are still winning. They're still working with Netflix. They're developing new projects. Their foundation, Archewell, is funding meaningful programs around mental health and social impact. They continue to show up, not in palaces, but in communities. Meanwhile, the other side of the pond is stuck leaking and lying, trying to rewrite reality. They can't accept that Harry's truth has already dismantled their illusion. When page 6 says, "Harry must be quite scared," I laugh, because it's projection. It's William who's scared. Scared of the global shift in power, scared of how irrelevant the monarchy looks next to Harry and Meghan's authenticity, scared of how every smear campaign only reinforces how petty and insecure he's become. If anything, Harry should be proud. He's so free that the future King of England is still obsessing over him years after he walked away. This whole page 6 circus is emotional support for William's ego. It's a comfort blanket for a man who can't stand not being the centre of attention. They needed to give him a win, some sense that he still has control, even if it's built on lies. Don't worry, sir, LA hates them. The Hollywood scene's over for Meghan and Harry. Meanwhile, Meghan walks into any room and outshines everyone with grace and style, and Harry continues to build an authentic, independent legacy. The contrast couldn't be clearer, and that's why the attacks keep coming, because when truth and integrity walk through the door, the ones built on illusion start to panic. William's panic is written all over this. The palace is rattled, the tabloids are hysterical, and page 6 is doing damage control disguised as gossip. But the world is changing. The public sees the pattern. They know who leaks what and why. You can't control the narrative forever when people have receipts and memory. At the end of the day, this isn't about titles, it's about power. Who gets to define it, who gets to wield it, and who rises above it. Harry and Meghan have shown that real power doesn't come from crowns or coats of arms. It comes from courage, purpose, and truth, and that's what terrifies them the most. Harry's Toronto trip is a reminder that he doesn't need the institution to validate him. He's doing what the monarchy pretends to do, connecting with people, uplifting communities, inspiring hope. That's real leadership. That's real legacy. Meanwhile, the other side is busy leaking, lying and losing credibility by the minute. So, when you read stories like this, remember who benefits. Remember who planted it. And remember that behind every smear there's a palace in panic and a press empire desperate for clicks. Harry's not scared. He's soaring. The only fear here belongs to the people watching him thrive while their own relevance fades. And that, my friends, is the truth they can't spin away. Now, if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and if you want to support real Sussex storytelling, hit that super thanks below, because this is Royal Sussex Squad, the home of truth, strength and love for Harry and Meghan. We see through the noise, we stand with integrity, and we keep the receipts ready. Until next time, stay brilliant, stay bold, and, as always, we shall first. We shall vereen. With the Sussexes, always.